Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Women Writing Intentionally show. My name is Jenny Alberti, and I have a special guest today. Tracey is not with us because Lunar Wisdom launches tomorrow, and she's just a little bit busy right now. So I have an amazing guest filling in for her, my very beautiful, gorgeous friend, Christina Sims, who is a PR absolute genius. And I'm so happy to have her in my world for her expertise, but also as a wonderful friend and a human being. So I want Christina to just go ahead and introduce herself and tell us a little bit about, what it is that you do, Christina.
Hello. It's such an introduction. You're me crying before I even start. I'm not waterproof. Anyways, I thank you, Queen, so much.
You're
Really,
welcome.
my name is Christina Sims. I am the owner and founder of Mom Meets Life, which is a personal branding and marketing consultancy. I specialize in helping female entrepreneurs grow and amplify their personal brand online to become in-demand authorities. And really all that is I get you paid by being exactly who you are. Frankly, I do not like where this market's going, where everything's scripted, everything's really kind of, I guess you could say, filtered for lack of better terms, and really robotic. And so I help you come forward and being able to monetize, put some profit behind your presence, as I say, but more importantly, really reclaiming your reign. Queen is really my theme, as Jenny alerted, and it's just because it's about taking ownership now of who you are, the life you want, and being able to unapologetically live it.
I love that. That's one of the things I think that I was immediately drawn to you about was that unapologetic, like, that is it. Like, that is what it's all about. And in one of our very first conversations, when we were messaging each other back and forth in voice notes, that just came through. It wasn't necessarily even that it was when you said it, because you did talk about that, but just it came through, just this unapologetic nature. And I immediately was drawn to that because it really resonated for me and resonated for the stories that I wanted to bring to life through publishing, right?
Hmm.
And so I know that that is also a very important piece of your strategy for PR and for the marketing that you help women do. Would you speak on that for me? Like that unapologetic storytelling. Speak on that for me.
Absolutely. So it kind of came from, I have a background in corporate and I worked with marketing agencies and I got to really see so many diverse businesses. Some are small business, some are global. And first off, the women always were saying sorry. I want you to think
Mm,
about how many times you say sorry if you're a woman, which is quite a bit. Sorry, I'm late because of dot, dot, dot. Sorry,
mm.
this happened because of dot, dot, dot. We're naturally apologizing. But yet men will say, oh, thank you. Or they'll just not even say nothing at all. They're just like, hey, it is what it is and keep it pushing. And that was starting to drive me nuts. Okay. And then when I started my business, really the COVID hit, it hit. And then I was teaching Instagram at the time. I got so frustrated because Reels first came out.
Mm.
Everyone was doing the same thing. Lip syncing, 15 million changes, you name it, I did it too. This dancing, hop, bop, and drop, as I always say. And I was
Right.
getting so mad. And same with the people I was serving. Like, listen, first of all, laundry accrues, especially if you're like me. I'm the one stuck washing all of it. I mean, my husband helps. I want to make that real clear. He does help, thank God. But like, it's it adds up.
Yep.
And so, really, the thing was, people were getting frustrated with being told what they have to do, what they have to say, how they're supposed to be, and then throw an algorithm on top of it. And I am just kind of a natural rebellious person, and I'm like, no, it's particularly because,
Yeah.
someone who's dark skinned, with society, I wasn't necessarily viewed as the most, we'll say, aesthetically beautiful person, growing up. And I felt like this misfit, and then add on if you got to go viral. Everyone was talking, if you don't go viral, you're not going to have success. And the topics I talked about weren't viral. I didn't look necessarily viral. The few things that I did go viral for, I'm not going to lie to you, they had my husband in it. Okay. I'm not going to lie. My husband's a beefcake. So I was like, okay, further proving my point. And so I just said, you know what? F this.
Mm.
No, I'm going to speak my truth. And I started finding success. It wasn't until I started owning who I really was deep down, it felt natural to me. So I could make those natural conversations with people and found out I really wasn't alone. But I had to stop trying to pretend to be someone I wasn't. I had to start really being able to be okay with my messages for somebody, but not for everybody. I'm someone's, shot of whiskey and not everyone's cup of tea, and be
Mhm.
okay with the people who are going to walk. I'm not here for you. And I think that's the problem we really deal with is this instant gratification of trying to feel like I have to have the numbers. How many times you put a reel, a TikTok or something up and you're trying to
Mhm.
see, okay, did it hit? Oh, I only got 30 views. But think about if you were in a room with 30 people. I know for me, I'd be nervous. Like, okay, I've got 30 people here I'm supposed
Mhm.
to try and talk to. So it has more impact when they're right in front. Or think about, the natural relationship we have. I mean, I remember, like you said, I remember that conversation like this yesterday with you when we had our introduction
Yeah.
through Facebook Messenger.
Mhm.
And it took time for that evolve. It wasn't just like instant best friends. I mean, we had things that we kind of knew were aligned, but it was still
I
one of
don't
those.
know. It might have been instant best
I mean,
friends.
it was for me. It was for me. I was just praying it was for you, just saying. But when it comes to investing our coins, I mean, there's
Yeah.
50 million questions. We're like, okay, can we trust you? That the
Yeah.
trust has got to be there. And that's with any transaction except for the grocery store where you're stuck with it, but
True.
that's really where it came from is you've got to be okay with who you are, particularly if you're gonna be a personal brand, which means you put your face forward. Because if
Yeah.
you don't, you're going to become a slave to your business and a slave to the audience you serve because you're too busy searching for validation versus trying to serve with the value you have.
It's such a powerful and important topic that we're talking about right now in the authenticity. Sorry. That's not your favorite word,
Not
but
anymore because it's been a buzzword, but we're going to
I
roll with
know, I
it.
know. I don't know how else to say it. Just your truth,
Being
right?
real.
Just showing up as who you actually are and being okay with who likes it and who doesn't like it. And neither way does it impact your movement forward, right? Like
Mhm.
whoever likes it, whoever doesn't. But I think that especially for us, especially for women, you and I both being introverts on top of that, right?
Mhm.
We naturally we worry about that stuff. And, especially going out and putting ourselves out there in the ways that, let's be real, are necessary in
Yep,
order to grow our business is really scary.
it really is.
So, how I want to ask you now, how, first of all, for you, how were you able, what was that process like, or what was that moment like, or that switch like, where you decided, okay, I don't care. Like I am who I am and
Mhm.
I need to go about my business in the most real way. Like what was that process like for you, and what would be some things that you could tell somebody that's maybe struggling with doing that?
I can say it's more recent than you would think. I just turned 35 on August 9th this year, and it was honestly July before me and my husband, we celebrated our 5th anniversary at the end of July. And I was just kind of thinking about everything, 35 is like this milestone year. I'm like rounding to 40 now. And I was like, okay, well, what do I want to be? And like more importantly, what am I okay with now? Because there's a lot of things personally I was dealing
Mm,
with. I just left a toxic work environment and there is so much stuff adding up that I did not like who I saw in the mirror.
mm,
And I think even I'm a mother, and I knew I could not look my son in the face and saying, be true to yourself if I'm sitting here living that lie. And make no mistake about it, it's a daily walk. It's a daily exercise to consistently be okay with yourself. And you're a human. We are humans, we're not these machines where, like, every day it's I don't give a what.
yeah.
But it's being rooted in the fact of knowing you have a purpose in what you're here to do. More importantly, I had to
Mm,
establish what were those boundaries. So there was a lot of, I'm gonna say, soul searching to do, as my daddy says, the come to Jesus moments. I had a lot
yeah.
of that, and I'm still recalibrating because there was just so much stuff. I was a natural workaholic. natural people pleaser, and my vice was perfectionism. As someone who grew up the only minority where I was from, dealing with a lot of racism, there are certain stereotypes I knew were already perceived of me that I would naturally try and like mold myself a certain
Mhm.
way in order to avoid, because I was trying to make sure I could excel in the corporate world.
Yeah.
And I did not like if I felt I disappointed people either, and so even through motherhood, then I noticed a new vice where it's like, okay, you become a little more endearing, a little more sympathetic, just emotional. So I found myself taking on and other things that I shouldn't have had to either. Now, kind of a backstory on me. I almost lost my son during birth. 9 months. He was late, like his mama as always, and went in for routine stress test, and they said they could not find my son's heartbeat and dropped with it. And so rushed to the emergency room. They still couldn't find it. They got it revived again, and then actually about 20 hours later, his heartbeat dropped again. And had an emergency C-section. I have no recollection of his birth whatsoever. Woke up, not sure if
Mm.
I was going to wake up another end, much less my son. He's here, thank God for that. But 2 weeks later, told after emergency C-section, I have to return back to work full time, or I no longer have a job. Now I have an HR background, so I knew legally my butt was toast. It was either make the decision, and at that time I would feel fear struggling financially,
Yeah.
or try and save this company, in my paycheck in the process. And so that was really when it started spiraling for me in this constant having to people please times 10. And I think that's something we as women, whether we're caretakers, we're mothers, and we just have estrogen for that matter, we naturally seem to want to adapt to what that situation is, or fear we're not good enough. I think that's historical. It goes back to, like, look at beauty competitions and things like that. We're constantly being compared or having to put in these competitive situations in which we're trying to measure up to something versus our own personal benchmarks. And even those personal benchmarks are convoluted by what society tells us is we're supposed to be. Whether we're supposed to be married by 30, you're supposed to want to have the baby or the white picket fence. Someone may not want none of that. They may be fine living in a trailer somewhere in East Bum
Right?
wherever,
Right?
and that's
Yep.
fine.
Yep.
So, really, it came from that 35 milestone and knowing, okay, something's gotta change for me, because I did not like where my life was. For other people, that's going to be different, but it's a matter of really coming back to that self-awareness, and I think if you're gonna be an entrepreneur, you need to be incredibly self-aware. If you're going to then start going into the media, you need to be self-aware, because now you're putting yourself on a public platform where people are going to judge you regardless.
Right. One of the things that you said that really hit home was being rooted in your purpose and that kind of being the North Star for your decision making, and you're getting real with yourself, right? So I think that's a a really important takeaway to what you said is just, what are you here for? Like, what are you why are you here? And being really
You just
rooted
gotta
into that.
align with it. Because if
Yep.
it doesn't, it's a distraction. For me now,
100%.
it's still new and I'm still having to reassess and pause before I make a decision, but it's gotta be a soul quenching F yes, or it's an
Yeah.
immediate no.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Absolutely. So let's shift to being very specific about um, getting into PR and the media for authors, right?
Yes.
Because that's what we do, right? Um, and I, w- first of all, I want to just publicly shower you with praise because the amount of help that you provided for your fellow authors and myself inside the Quiet and Badass container was like a godsend because everybody who didn't have a taste before of being out there like that, being in a magazine, being in an article, going through that process, um, you gifted them with that. And like from the bottom of my heart here, I just want to thank you for that. And thank you
That's an
for
honor.
what you
Seriously.
did. Yeah, what you did for me, being able to, get me in a couple articles and then the rest of the girls that were able to do that as well. But talk to me a little bit about the importance of us doing that Let's talk about Quiet and Badass first. Let's talk about that process that you did, because I know that there was some very strategic things that you did as the expert for us. And I know that you're going to be helping us out inside the Women Writing Intentionally Collective. You're going to be helping us out with the Wounded Women series and all of the women that come into that collaboration. So it's important that they hear from you. Tell me about that strategic planning that you did for us to get into the media
Mhm.
before the book launch and then as close to after the book launch as possible. What was that like?
Sure. So let me first talk about the love of PR first and foremost. 'Cause I'm going to talk to you really about the mindset behind it. That way you understand then strategically how you can even and really do it for yourself as well. So the beauty of it was I really hate social media. I'm not
Mm,
even gonna lie to you. I have over a decade experience in it, but I got frustrated with the fact that we put so much time, effort, and thought into our content that is still controlled by a machine.
yeah.
That just ticked me off to and so
Yeah.
in this current market, honestly, if you're an entrepreneur, period, but even now more so with this increasing, competitive competition, including with, the inflation, is you need visibility, period. You should always constantly be having traffic coming to your website, whether it's whatever it is you're using, if you're just using a landing page and that's your main website, whatever it is you're driving traffic to connect with people, it has to be there. So there's 4 different areas. I'm not going to get into all of it of really type of media. There's owned, which is your blog, podcast. What we're on right now, this would be Jenny and Tracy's own media. They own it. They control what happens on it. Earned media would be something for other people. So frankly, for me, this would be earned media because it's
Mm,
controlled by someone else. Then you have paid, which if you're paying for ads, Google ads, Facebook ads, TikTok and such. And then you have your social, which would be, of course, your Instagram, TikTok, and things such as that. You need 2 of them always running at once because you don't want all your eggs in one basket. I just actually got to have the opportunity of speaking to Tracy's community about this. And so I knew looking at that particular media mix, I wanted earned media because there's credibility behind it because
mm,
they don't just let you in there. They've got to verify who you are and who you say you are. So it really is like this VIP type of group. It puts you in this exclusivity. And more importantly, because I'm a marketing background, we Google people. I don't know about y'all, but
mhm.
I love crime shows. So I'm like, I'm always looking up somebody. Are you who you say you are? We look at the reviews. If you shop on
It's true.
Amazon, you're checking them the reviews.
It's
Same thing.
true.
That's why influencer marketing is as big as it is. They're buying
Yep.
reviews. So earned media gives you that elite status. It positions you already as an expert and frankly puts another level of trust where a media like a social media, anybody and their mother and brother can start their own account. They can
Yep.
say whatever they want and then some. So I wanted to partner with both of those because I use my social media kind of as my Netflix account where it's like, okay, you can binge on things about me, but then when you Google me and you see the different places I've been featured, like, oh, okay.
Mm,
It gives this level of prestige. And so I had personally thought, especially as authors, at the end of the day, we are all subject matter experts. I am not a publicist. I am a subject matter expert, which is really great for everybody because it means anybody can do it, but not everyone can get in because you need a certain tools. You need to already establish today that you are an expert at something. I partner storytelling because storytelling is more memorable. 22 times more memorable to be exact. So when you partner your expertise with your story, now you're already creating 2 different angles that you can be able to pitch to media to get your name in there. And so for this particular book and a strategy, I knew a lot of people were coaches, some were consultants, some had agencies, and so they were already experts. And so I sent everybody, it was a brief questionnaire to say, okay, what are you an expert at and why? I needed to hear from their own words what made them an expert. There's several types of different angles you can pitch to the media, which I'm not going to get into tonight, but the important part is finding what's going to be media worthy to whatever journalist. Now, this is a little bit controversial. All media is not good media. Failure to what the Kardashians tell you. They are influencers in the fact that attention works for them. As authors and subject matter expertise, if you are, for example, Lunar Wisdom would not do well in Forbes. They're looking for business.
yeah. Right. Right.
So that would be a waste of your time if you're not any type of if you're not working in that type of field. So it's very important in finding publications, podcasts, radio, even TV, where your audience is.
Mm.
Otherwise, it's a nice feature, but it's not making you any money. We're not here to be famous, we're here to be paid. Your book is going to pay you for life if you use it the right way. And that was really why I specifically was looking. For us, we did Medium Authority magazine because it just has such a diverse audience
Mhm.
that it could fit
Mhm.
everybody. For me personally, for the time I had, so I also they really invest in their SEO. That's marketing ease for search engine optimization. That just means if you put something on the internet, Google's crawling on there to see where it's at. And then if you notice when you're searching for certain things, other pages rank higher. There's a whole host of reasons why, but I knew with Authority Magazine, if you look up Jenny Alberti's name right now, you're going to see at the tippy top there, Medium Magazine now. That's super important.
And I don't know what they would have seen. Nothing. Facebook probably, right? Facebook. Yeah,
Right. And
right.
so it's another way to not only get visible, they know who you are, but with earned media, you're able then to continue to capitalize off that attention for free and drive them then back to your website or to your book in this case continuously. So it's a continuous circle. So the more you add to it. Now, of course, you can expand to other areas. I always say for media, some people lean into where you're the strongest. I don't personally, TV is something I like to say I would like to strive for, but my introverted self,
Mhm.
I might need a few to before I can get on there. So
Uh-huh.
I like writing and I love, this is intimate. Even these are a little bit tough for me, but podcasts were my sweet spot. I love me a good podcast.
Mhm.
So look for the smaller things. It doesn't have to be shooting as high as Forbes. And I think that's where a lot of people get it wrong because they're thinking, okay, I got to go for them big, big names. You really don't because usually most people are listening to them smaller ones, and usually if those smaller ones grow and you're on the front end of their podcast, you're one of the first ones on there, and
Mm.
so that's something that was just really important is making sure first and foremost what are you an expert about so we know not only what platforms we should be looking for you and where your customers may be, but also where the angle we would shoot to journalists will be most likely to be accepted. Then we move into what makes you an expert and then pitching to the actual journalist something different. They do not want their job done for like they don't have to work. They want to know you already gave them the angle, the story. They can run with it and just ask you for a couple crumbs and make sure you have
Mm.
your social proof. Then after that is follow up. Follow up is really huge. You need to always follow up because sometimes it gets lost in the sauce. But then after that, we continue to share and really just ensure that we're leveraging the right areas that would get us the best traction for our business.
Mhm. I I think that one of the issues with a lot of people, I know for myself, I'll speak for myself. One of the issues why I never really pursued it in the past, right? Because I've been coaching for almost 4 years, right?
Mhm.
But that Medium Authority magazine article was the first one, right? Okay. Introverted, but I love writing. Why wouldn't I pursue that before, right?
Right.
It felt too overwhelming. It felt too hard. Okay, so those and then also I felt like, well, why me? Well, why would
Mhm.
they select me, right?
Right.
So how what can you say? Like what could you say to my past self, right? Or the people that are feeling that like it's too overwhelming, maybe it's too much work, or
Mhm.
why would they even pay attention to me in the first place? Like what would you say to them?
So for the too much work, I'm going to say if you're a coach, how can you say that if you're coaching other people? Because that's usually the first thing. It's a lot of work. And so really lean into your coaching stats. What would you tell yourself as a coach? For those who
Mhm.
are why not me? Why not you? And if more importantly, if you can't know in your worth that you're not media worthy, why should your customers feel that you are purchase worthy?
Mm.
And that's really what you have to start flipping is the fact that closed mouths do not get fed. The
Mm.
best marketer wins, no matter what kind of entrepreneur you are. Marketing sales have to be happening at all given times. Marketing precedes sales. This is a form of marketing. Yes, we are good at what we do. We're experts in our fields, but we also have to be a salesman of who we are. So if we don't believe that we are worth it, whether it's for attention, whether we feel this extra mile, why
Mm.
should we have then either our customers or our clients and or these publications also do that for us? That's really a big thing. And it's I wish there was a way to sugarcoat it, but there's not.
You're
There's not.
right.
You have to be able to shout it from the top of the world that I am the best at this, and I will tell it on any type of stage. May be uncomfortable, but I'm going to tell them, and I dare someone to say I'm not. Because no one's going
100%.
to be able, they're not going to say you're the expert. You have
Right,
to.
right. And you have to believe in that first and foremost before anybody else is gonna believe that you're an expert, right? Like,
And
it's
start small, and that's you don't have to jump for this TV. Like I started off, my very first thing was a podcast. I was so super nervous, but it was so easy then because I'm just talking like this natural conversation.
yeah.
So it's repetition and practice. If someone tells you no, play again. Apply again, but take a look and look at the research, look at the breadcrumbs. Who do they
Mm,
feature? What do they typically say? What do they do? What type of topics they typically cover? You need to make sure that whatever you're pitching to be featured is in line with the type of things that their audience needs. You'll hear it over and over again and find ways to give them a new insight, whether it's, let's say your industry, like for personal branding, everyone's talking about being an influencer. I'm totally against that. Yes, you will have influence on people, but I like to say people can make up their own minds for themselves. So I want to have an impact. I want to make sure that what I'm saying is touching the hearts of people to go do it for themselves.
mm,
It may not be the most popular way. Like I already know, you can check me out. I don't have the most followers and viral and all this stuff. And I'm okay with that because the work I do, my receipts precede themselves.
mm.
And the people I serve are happy because they're not being forced to be someone they are not. They're able to market in a way that's naturally in tune with who they already are.
Mm. I love you,
So that
Christina.
would be something I could be able then to pitch to the media, something different. Maybe there's something happening now in a news event, it's called newsjacking, where you're taking a current event that you can speak into. That's another way, but just
Mm.
make sure that you're positioning your pitch in a way that's already in alignment with things they already have on their platform. Research that. That's the biggest area, and that yes, that takes time. But if you're not willing to take time to invest in your growth,
It's gonna be a challenge. It's gonna be an
I mean,
uphill
there's
climb,
no other
right?
way to say it. Like, it's either you feel you're worth it and your success is worth it or it's not. Especially
Yeah.
because in this field, it has ability to I say it's residual effects. You invest the time now, it pays dividends in the back end.
Mm.
For social, you get 30 minutes if you're lucky.
Right, right, right. Absolutely. Yeah, so tell me, where does somebody start to find these opportunities, right? So you said like it's going to take some research. Start small. Maybe, like you and I, maybe they're introverted or a little bit shy or it's a little hard to put themselves out there.
Mhm.
The fear is real. But they know they got to start anyways, and they were, to look for podcasts or things like that. Like, what are some ideas for someone to just start finding the opportunities?
Right. So first and foremost, Haro, it's Haro, it's help a reporter out. That is a free platform that can send you emails each and every day on
Mm,
media opportunities. These are mainly usually written ones, but some of them say they are looking for like a podcast guest, but they'll have different industries in there, and you can find which one aligns for this topic that you are a subject matter expert in. That's one easy way. Number two, Facebook groups are great. You can type in so different things as far as like podcast, media features, and things such as that. Look for those types of Facebook groups and
mm,
insert yourself in, or you can start seeing like what they are. Look at their roles because not everybody wants you just asking, but some let you saying, "Hey, I'm looking to be a guest." So you put hashtag be a guest on insert here. Instagram is really great because you can even type in the word podcast and you'll see all these different people kind of pop up and show their podcast on her. Now, again, this all does take work.
mhm,
Google is your best friend too. You can flat out type in there looking for podcasts, and I even listen to the ones like I even go on like Spotify. You can simple as that and see type in your area and say like for me personal brand. I'll put personal branding podcast, or I could put on there I usually work with female coaches and consultants. I could put business podcasts for women.
Mm,
That's even broader. I'll put these lists and I'll start then researching, do they have the audience I have? Is what they predominantly promote on there is in alignment with my core values? Because it may not be.
yeah.
And that's also important as
Yeah.
well.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you wanna go bigger, then as far as
Mhm.
yeah, you can go bigger as far as Medium, Forbes, and then take a look, who's the journalist consistently featuring the articles, and you'll see that 'cause it'll say, "By this person," you can take a look what's there. Medium, Authority Magazine, I always recommend to everybody because they have such a breadth of different topics. Almost everybody would be a fit for that platform. They're really good at giving a lot of people across the board on a global perspective.
Mm. Yeah, and, I've read a lot of good articles on there too that, it's quality stuff,
Mhm.
it's good stuff,
Right.
right? So those are all really great suggestions. Let
Even
me
just
ask
this,
you.
like, this is a form of media, so you may say,
Yeah.
"I don't wanna do a podcast." If someone's in alignment with you on, like, Facebook or Instagram, like, I think it'd be a good vibe, say, "Hey, I
Mm.
would love to do a joint live with you," and that's
Yeah,
another way of media that I think a lot of people overlook.
totally. Absolutely. Just reaching out and like Messenger, right? Just introduce yourself, and just say, I'd like to be on your show. Like, you can message
Tell them
us.
what you bring to them, though. That's the big thing, like, it's always a Whipham lens, "What's in it for me?" Or
Yep,
the radio station, WIFM. They
that's
want
it.
to know, how can you provide value to your community? Do
That's
not go
it.
on there acting like a walking commercial. I say that to everybody because I
Yep,
guarantee you ain't gonna be asked back.
yep.
You're there to provide value and expertise, and through that is how you promote yourself.
So do you that's a good that was going to ask you that next. Like, how do you actually approach that? Do people need like to create a one sheet where they
Yeah,
are.
so the pitch is small. It is just a pitch. Do not put your whole life story on there. So you need a subject line. If you're an author, you should be a damn good writer. So think
Mhm.
like your English thesis, but with a little bit more punch. Then you want to have your topic sentences. Just basically says, this is the overall arcing theme of what I bring to the table. Two or three bullet points. You can have one. It just says, these are the main points I would like to talk about on your platform, and then you do your bio. Your bio is just 2 to 3 sentences, 50 words max, and saying, "This is why I'm an expert." You've got to command the attention there. This is not the time to be humble. This is the time to say, "I'm the ish, and this is
Yeah.
why." And then
Yeah.
you wanna link to one thing only, whether it's to your website, to your book. If you're talking about promoting my book, you would link into the book page for that. If you have a one sheet, like a media kit, that's helpful. Speaker reel, those types of things where then they can quickly validate who it is you are, and then they will come to you if they have more questions. Do not
Mm,
bloat the pitch. If they
love it.
see a dissertation, they out.
I would be.
They
I
out.
would be. Yeah, yeah. Okay, awesome. So I have like one last burning question. Um, how is there some sort of a goal or something to shoot for how often or how many times that they should that people that authors should be going about getting media spots, getting featured, being on podcasts, things like that? Is there some sort of a like a goal for a year or a month or something like that? Like, what should people even like? What's a ballpark that people should even shoot for?
So I think it really all depends upon your bandwidth and your goal of how big you want to be. I
Mm.
always, me personally, right now, I pitch at least once a month, just because I still am smaller named for now. Mark that here on this. This is
For now.
documentation for now.
Yep. Yep.
But when
October
you're not
24th.
a large name, if you're in that growth period, I'm going to say the growth period is where you're really just trying to get your business off the ground. You're just trying to just get your name out there. I'd say once or twice a month, just because again, they might be no's or they might not be right now. So if you can do at least five, be bad and shoot for that,
Mm,
but no less than I would say 1 to 2 per month if you're in that growth phase, because again, you're trying to continuously get eyeballs. You need to also assess, and you might have other marketing mixes in there. So if you're running like paid ads, well, it doesn't
Mm,
matter too much because you're paying to buy the traffic. But if you're in the organic bus, which just means, okay, I'm not putting no money behind my advertising, you're going to want to push because you need
yeah.
some other form other than just that. It may be you're booking speaking engagements and things such as that. So you need to really take a look at what other visibility marketing do you have in the background, and is it enough? Because a
Mm,
lot of times that's the case. We're not doing an abundant amount of attention to source those leads.
mm. And
If
I
you're in
think
the
there's
skill phase, you can pull back on that if you so see fit. So that's
yeah.
where I always say it really just kind of depends upon how much traction are you bringing in
Mhm. I think
already.
I think also too something that plays into, you know, I think my question too is there's all this noise from all different, right? There's like the people that do ads, the people that run ads, like ads are the magic bullet. That's all you need, right? And then there's
Yeah,
organic marketing people that are like, don't spend money on anything. Don't spend money on ads. Like do it organically. Grow your Facebook group. I make
mhm,
$6,000 an hour, by my Facebook group, right? And
yep.
then there are like publicists and things like that that they have their angle, right? So, one of the things that I appreciate about you so much is that you aren't saying that any one thing is the magic bullet and that you really have to take like this holistic approach based
Yeah.
off of who you are, based off of where you're at, right?
Your budget, I mean, because paid ads, I mean, I have that background, especially right now with the holidays coming up, they're dear.
Uh-huh.
They're dear, and there needs to be proper other marketing mechanisms in place to make sure that it continuously works for you. Even
Yeah.
with the PR, you need other things happening in the background to still make sure it works for you. That's another thing I teach is making sure then no, you're taking your 15 minutes of fame and turning it into 15 more minutes, and
15
beyond
more.
with
Yeah.
your audience. That's
Yeah.
where funnels come into place because you want to make sure you're getting that information to keep having that conversation with them. But yeah, I got frustrated with that. I would say, okay, it's no different. Okay, it's high ticket, it's low ticket, it's paid ads, it's
Mm.
organic, all these things. And the point of matter is that may not be right for you. You can
Yep.
market any way you want, but it has to be a way where you're going to consistently show up in a way that it lights who you are and it makes sense to your business where you're at.
Mm.
They all
Yep.
can work, but none of them will if you're not willing to commit to the process of whichever you invest in.
Amen. All of them can work, but not if you're not willing to be consistent. 100%, right? Um, okay. Tell us what is coming down the pipeline for you. What's
So
what are you working on?
right now, this is a season of refining. I like simple. I'm learning more and more about me, my recalibration phase. I'm a minimalist. I
Mhm.
used to like to throw the whole kitchen sink at people, and it was very overwhelming. So I'm really working on streamlining. Right now, I just launched, it's called Empire on a Budget. It's my online resource business center because I realized
Love it.
not everybody's ready for that high ticket coaching stage. And I know when I first started my business, I was frustrated because I didn't have those type of coins, but I knew I was hungry to get there, and I just really wasn't willing to sink myself
Mm.
into ridiculous debt to do it, especially with a brand new baby at the time. So I went back to that. I call it kind of my Macy's backstage version, even though I'm not really a Macy's shopper, but it's where business owners can get different workbooks, templates. I'll be uploading things there every other week pretty much. Right now I have a branding booklet in there, and I also have my social media content calendar. I have an
Mm.
email workbook coming up that's going to give over a year worth of email marketing templates. People always want simplicity right now, and they want to be
Mm.
able to get started. This is really going to be a great time, even though you're hearing all this chaos on the news talking about things becoming more expensive. Just means it's more time to diversify your income. So that's what Empire on a Budget does: is give people the
Mm.
ability to do that at the pace and the budget that they're able to do so in that time, so they can at least get started. I do have some VIP days that will be launching in 2023 where I will
Ooh.
have DIY PR for my people who are like, you know what, retainers are not for me. And I totally can get that as well. If you're like me, I cut the cord on cable because I don't like retainers either. So I am
Mhm.
doing that. And then I'll be opening up more spots for my one-to-one personal branding development program called Invisible in Demand. So
Mm.
follow me, get on my subscriber list because you'll get first nuggets at that. And my website's www.mommeetslife.com.
I love it. I love it. I'm gonna put all of that information I'll grab from you and we'll put it in the comments too. So, I mean, the Empire on the Budget it's phenomenal, right? Like it's phenomenal, especially coming from, you know, I have been in those situations where I've been on a sales call and I'm desperate for help. I'm desperate for, bringing the vision that I have to life,
Mhm.
and they get me to open a credit card on the phone because I don't
Mhm.
have the money. I don't have the 10,000 lying around, but
Right.
the sales guy could get me to open a credit card while I'm on the phone, and then I could go ahead and give him that your credit
Exactly.
card number, right? So, and then I put myself in debt, and I know I'm not the only one. I know that
And
this is a pandemic of this kind of stuff, right?
yes, I just for me, if someone feels nervous about financial, because I remember those feelings, and that's I don't want to take their money because I'm like, first, I don't want that kind of pressure, because I'll be like, oh baby, what should
Yeah.
we do here? That's me. But sometimes you just need to get started. I bootstrapped my way until I could afford my first high ticket coach. It took me 2 years to finally afford her. And I was so grateful then because I was able to work with her without figuring how am I going to pay for this?
Mm.
I was able then I had a different mindset in there and, because I could just focus on zoning in on my zone of genius and taking what I need at that time. That's
Yeah.
what I needed. You might not need everything in someone's coaching program. You just need just a section of that where you're at. And so that's really
Yeah.
what this was created out of so people could do that. I'll be hosting some workshops next year, which I'm super excited about, where it'll give people a way to get some on-demand coaching and during those times as well. It really was important for me to reach back to where I know I started because I remember how ignored I felt and frankly embarrassed by some of the mean marketing saying, oh, you don't trust yourself or you're not willing to bet on yourself if you don't throw these thousands of dollars out there.
Yeah, if you're not willing to go into debt, then you don't believe in yourself enough. Yep, been there. Yep.
Have you seen the interest rates? Uh-uh.
Right?
No. No.
Right. Well, I'm so happy that you're doing that, and I want everybody to be able to have access to that. So we'll drop that link and all your links. We'll drop that in the comments. I am so happy that we hung out today, Christina.
Me too. This was
I'm so
wonderful.
happy. I hope that, people listen to this entire thing. They really listen to your golden nuggets because like I've said, I'll say it again, like I just didn't know this stuff and I didn't know anyone that did know this stuff. So I just thought it was too hard and I put it off for way too long. So you know,
And the thorough notes are in the guide section in the Facebook group.
mhm.
Yep, so definitely check there. Actually, I
Mhm.
just got done presenting to, the Lunar Wisdom cohort. So in the
Yep,
guide section, I go more in depth on how you can start your PR
beautiful.
strategy now. So look in
Yep.
there.
Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, anything else you want to add, Christina, before we wrap up?
All I gotta say is a story untold is no story at all. So
That's
you don't
it.
tell your story, no one will know it.
It's beautiful. All right, my friend. Well, we'll wrap up here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Queen. Appreciate.
Absolutely. It's always an honor. It's always fun chatting with you. So,
Yes.
if anybody wants to reach out to Christina, go ahead and drop a comment. Christina, do you have a way for somebody to get a hold of you directly?
Sure. I'm on Instagram at I am Christina Sims, and that's one M CHR. And if you just want to direct me, my email is Christina CHR at mommeetslife.com. I promise you will get me and not some operator. I'm a very in person direct person, so you'll get me.
Beautiful. Awesome. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Actually, no. Next week is what is next week Halloween. Tracy and I are taking a break next week, so
You
we're
go,
not.
girls.
Yeah, it's Halloween, so we're gonna take a Halloween break on the show. We'll be back the following week, 2
Make
p.m.
sure to buy Lunar Wisdom. Gotta
You're
support my
the best.
girls.
You're the best. Lunar Wisdom comes out tomorrow, Tuesday, October 25th. And yes, please support these amazing, amazing women. Amazon, 99 cents. And yeah, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you.